So as we talked about, templates are a way that we apply settings to devices. So this can be service checks, this can be performance-related thresholds, it can be anomaly settings. All of these things are built, who gets alerted when the host goes down. All those things are built out via templates. And templates cascade. So the idea is that there's a global default template that applies to everything in OmniCenter. Then there can be a template tied to that particular device type, for example, a Cisco router. There's also subtype templates that are optional for additional applications that might be running on that system, like in this case, an OSPF router. Then they can also be tied in at the site level, at the category level, or at the device level. And they're designed to be hierarchical. So the more specific the template settings, they will override any settings that are set at a more general level. So the idea is that if I have, for example, a global default latency threshold, and then there's a CPU threshold set at the device type level, but then I've changed the latency because of the site that this is at, and changed it again on this particular device. You can see that the way that the latency will cascade down is that the most specific setting is the one that actually gets applied to the device. So if I went into this device, for example, and removed the device level threshold, it would change the latency to inherit from the site. If I removed the site level threshold from this device, it would have no effect on the device configuration because it's already getting a more specific setting. This is important because as you build templates out to manage your devices, you can make sure everything is configured consistently and correctly, regardless of what type of device it is or who added the device or when that happened. It's designed to be very easy to keep everything kind of aligned from a configuration perspective using these templates. So some general suggestions for what we put in templates at different levels. The global default template should have the most general settings. It should be a host outage contact of last resort so that nothing ever goes down and doesn't notify anyone. There should be, some global bandwidth and error thresholds to make sure that as a kind of a catch-all, but they should be set very generally. They should be set at very high levels because these are kind of catch-all statistics. More specific stats should be set at the device type level, at the subtype level. The subtype level is especially useful for setting things like service checks for specific applications. If I want to make sure that all of my SQL servers have a check that's monitoring SQL, I can put that in at the subtype level, and then anybody that sets a device to be a SQL server will automatically get that alarm associated with it. At the more specific levels like site, site can be useful for authentication or latency settings. Category can be role-specific settings, like you might have different thresholds for core devices versus remote devices, especially for things like latency or bandwidth or utilization, et cetera. And then at the device level, you can do overrides for anything that needs to be specifically changed on one device or a group of devices.